let's talk about the SHIV. Playing around with it a little bit in the PTU, I am definitely digging it, but then, I mean, my Drake Cutter is near and dear to me, so having that basis right from the get-go is awesome. Apparently this is a Squadron 42 asset sort of recycled or updated for and brought into the PU. A lot of folks are talking about it not having the component pass yet, although, and so yeah, they're not in there. They seem to have similar placeholders to what we see on the Cuddy Black. I'm sure the other Cutlass series have something similar. It is unusual for ships to be released without that these days, but notwithstanding that, I think it kind of makes sense in terms of being able to get this one out the door on time, where yes, engineering gameplay is pending soon, TM, but and a lot of ships are getting those component passes updated. It also, however, makes sense since they share so many assets that basically when they do the Cuddy Black, they can do this and all the other Cutlass variants at pretty much the same time to get, since the component bays are probably all in more or less the same spots. So it should be a pretty quick thing to run through. And while in CitizenCon they talked about, you know, all these gunships, there's something different about this one. And there's a couple open holes or blank spots where there probably shouldn't be. This thing is more expensive than the Cuddy Black, and while it's upgunned a little bit, it's not a huge amount, and yet there's a significant decrease in the cargo. And while Jared kind of alluded to maybe the ships might have a use later in the video, and obliquely, especially in terms of the Stinger and the Paladin, it was probably referring to the tactical combined arms piece. And they were all referred to as combat ships. The other thing they also came later, but earlier than the tactical arms, was the crafting presentation. Not only the crafting presentation, but even during the combined arms or the was it the tactical operations, whatever they called it. There was also crates of ship ammunition being loaded up. And they talked about that last piece enabling, or the feature for it would be the refuel and rearm of ships by basically carrier ships like the Idris, Polaris, and anything else with a hangar. So that makes me really interested in does the SHIV have something else to offer? And particularly with some of the upcoming game features that aren't necessarily in yet. So let's take a quick look at that. Particularly in view of what's coming up in the next year, and particularly in the next few months. Let's see here. I didn't have it queued up, did I? It was one of the things that bunch of things during CitizenCon seem to have not been said.
Obviously, Cutlass have had panels welded on, panels removed. The top turret, which is now remote, is just this hodgepodge amalgamation with multiple other ships' turrets. And then the changes continue onto the inside where, again, it sort of feels Cutlass-like, but then you'll find there's bits of Crusader ships just integrated into the wall instead of what was there originally.
It has lost its side entrance, some of its cargo capacity, but what it's gained is it's gained visually more powerful thrusters, it's gained a really kind of nice set of belly thrusters, it's upped its firepower.
As ever with the refined work from Gray's Market, you can see that great care was taken to the health and safety to ensure that there's no trip hazards anywhere.
There's like loose cables, panels are exposed. If you look carefully, you'll notice there are like tools laying around in the cockpit.
It's gained a toilet.
Now, a lot of this was really aesthetic stuff right from the beginning. So, what I think is rather interesting is when we take a look at the ship here. It lost the inventory space, but we have all this mechanical stuff basically sitting where the side doors and whatnot used to be. And while they threw the refining thing out, yeah. And you get the cargo space all along one spot, but we lost all the cargo space. So what is the missing space here for? Or why was the cargo reduced, and what might be extra machinery? Because the Star says in the CIG they love to physicalize everything. And so this is supposed to be a Squadron 42 asset from the shipjackers, and regardless of how they operate, it's also the first offering from Gray's Market. And they seem to like to do, or you know, if it's basically a chop shop, you know, that's all fine and dandy. But folks are talking about the lack of a component pass on this. Like I said, that might make more sense in terms of getting all the Cuddy variants done at the same time, and since the interior component pass is all the placeholders are in the same spot, it might make sense there. But what might this do otherwise? Because one of the things that most ships do when they release is all the stats are available on the page so that you can actually go and make an educated decision on what you want to buy and why, even though a lot of things are subject to change eventually. So, what do we have different with the SHIV? The SHIV doesn't have a whole lot of info here. Yeah, right. Yeah, the upgunning of this is only about 25% more firepower than the Drake Cutlass Black. Because the two size 2 or the size 3s on the shoulders and two size 3s on the forward canards, two size 3s on the turrets. This thing has 4 size 3s on a quad turret that's slave to the pilot, and the 2 size 4s on the shoulders. You know, each size is about 2 for each one lower, right? So this would be equivalent of 4 size 3s instead of 6 on the base Cuddy Black. Now, is that worth an extra 40 bucks? You know, 110 to 150? You know, I have my doubts. I think this thing has an unannounced feature to it that they haven't discussed yet. They don't like releasing ships that don't have gameplay. This might be an exception of get it out the door, even though the gameplay is not there, but we're not going to tell you what the gameplay is until the gameplay is actually viable and ready to take a look, right? Now, there's a few reasons for this. One of the big ones is the 200 recruit unannounced vehicle that was supposed to be announced at CitizenCon. They only changed this ladder back in July. They knew what their plan was for CitizenCon when they if they decided to put 3 combat ships up for grabs and have them all flight ready for this PTU. So while I initially thought it might be the Stinger, it didn't make sense for it to be the Stinger in hindsight, with the Captured Vandal Scythe, which is a $300 ship, being worth more recruits by a significant margin than 200 recruits for, you know, a $315 ship. And the next one down is the Tumbril Storm at $75. So $150 for a SHIV that was still announced at CitizenCon. Definitely won't be the Paladin. Made more sense for the slating. But why aren't they updating this? And why didn't they actually draw attention to it? And I think it's because they would have to reveal the gameplay for it. And I think it's going to far surpass the Misk Raptor. So, what gameplay loops haven't been announced that this ship might be well suited for, especially given the lore implications of it? It's sold to shipjackers. It's made by basically a guy who likes to custom make stuff for basically a chop shop. And if we look at the page for the SHIV, it's light on info. Hacking? I don't think so. The thing is hacking gameplay has other ships lined up for it, so it wouldn't need this one. The other one is refining, and they kind of threw something in there. And if you take a look at these, the machinery on the side, it's like, yeah, maybe pumps and refining stuff, especially for gaseous stuff. But we got the Expanse coming, right? Ship has nothing to hack. Yeah, there's other ships in the lineup that make more sense for hacking. I mean, the Herald is already there. The MSR is there. I mean, yeah, they're supposed to be data runners as well, but yeah. And every ship is supposed to have engineering, right? So, not really thinking those ones. So that leaves us with crafting.
What? Built with mathematics. What else could it have?
Where is it? My suspicion is, so here's the big one. Not only the light on information, but we get, you know, there's stuff about the guns, and yeah, they talked about it being a heavy fighter modded with. But here's the big thing. The main part of the page, coming soon, no image found, transmission error, offline. Like, this part is a tease, and so is this. But this is a way of saying that there's something, I think this is a way of saying that there's something more to this ship. Something that they haven't talked about, and something that they haven't, or something that they haven't revealed. Something beyond just baseline combat capacity, because if it was just combat, they would mention it. If it was just boarding, they would mention it. If it was hacking, they may or may not mention it, but, you know, it wouldn't be a big secret like they did. I mean, the Legionnaires out there for boarding and hacking. The Expanses out there for refining. There's lots of mining ships out there, lots of salvage ships out there. That doesn't make sense for this to be anything other than a new gameplay loop that hasn't quite made it into the verse yet, but will soon. Why did this thing lose cargo capacity? It's not enough for a 30% increase in firepower, I think. Now, I love the cargo bay. This looks like it'll take a 32 SU box, which makes it in some ways more capable than even the Corsair in terms of at least the size of box. But when we look at you know, the missing panels and stuff, I mean, that's kind of a mirror copy. I think maybe they could replace that with a box stuffing interface plus a crafting interface and paste that into the spot without too much trouble. This thing could be, especially since Gray's does chop shop stuff, think about a ship that can go around and craft on demand from the machinery it has built into it. This is a capability I think should be added into a lot of other ships, especially anything with a hangar, especially the carriers. And we already see it, I think, in the Ironclad Assault. Carrier a few rearm vehicles. One of the things that they talked about in the concept, I don't know if they listed it here. We'll see if it's in the pictures. Yeah, this area in the back is a shop maintenance area, and I do believe they mentioned it would it having, this is if I recall correctly, this back area is a shop area basically for maintaining the vehicles that the Assault is taking with it. So a 3D printer a la Pioneer on board the Assault makes a lot of sense. Now, if the Assault and the Ironclads are coming out, probably, if we're lucky, we'll see them at DefenseCon in 6 or 7 months. That crafting piece has to be already in play. And if they're tech previewing it, then the SHIV seems like a really good place to do it. And it might explain why coming soon is redacted out. And why on the why they haven't discussed it being added, even though it was due to be announced at CitizenCon, why they haven't actually tied it into the recruitment rewards. Whether or not they reveal this around IAE with Nyx coming in, they previewed the ship ammo being loaded on the Idris, the hangar refueling, reloading coming in, stuff like that. So perfectly happy to be wrong, but I really I think there is some gameplay related to this ship. Here I'm waving at my the redacted, waving at the other stuff. Did I forget to mention the Assault with this bay in the back? Just realized I was probably on the wrong screen this entire time. So yeah, in terms of the extra machinery on the side and why this might have been stripped down in order to or reduce the cargo load beyond just making it an upgunned version of the Cuddy Black in a kit bash format and reusing squadron assets. If they basically turn this into the Nyx chop shop crafting bench snap-on tools van of the verse, I think that'd be hilarious. And it would also make this a lot more worthwhile. Now, I would think they'll probably try to reveal that once crafting at least goes into tech, because then they could go ahead and throw this in there to test not only the portable unit, but the SHIV there, and drive sales for the duration of IAE and possibly even through Christmas. And whenever this gets unredacted, I could see it getting put back up on the referral ladder. Again, it's a gateway thing to get it in place for something like the Ironclad that's probably coming afterwards. So, anyway. Coming soon, TM. Transmission error, what do you think? Go ahead and mention in the comments or chat or whatever, and let me know.